There isn't a video game crash, nor will there be a video game crash. It's a concept perpetuated by opportunistic content creators who prey on the emotional fragility of the modern video game enthusiast. You see, today's video game consumers are a community built on the back of entitlement. They feel entitled to tools that make it trivial, regardless of one's technical prowess, to play modern commercial video games for free under the childish excuse that said tools do have a valid use case, but that 99% of them will never actually exercise. They feel entitled to buy hard-to-find retro games for $1 at a yard sale. But good luck finding a single one of those folks willing to pass that price on to you when they get tired of the game and it's time to sell. Yep, at that point, it's all about don't lowball me, bro. I know what I got. This entitlement, it's ingrained into the community by an army of literally hundreds of video game reselling and investing content creators that romanticize and glorify the redefinition of video games not as a source of entertainment, but as a naked financial instrument in the most crude manner possible, akin to the classic 80s movie Wall Street. Surely, Gordon Gekko would have had no problem shoving Grandma to the ground if she was standing in the way of these Nintendo tapes a soccer mom never looked up. The current video game fan base feels entitled to have a say in the day-to-day operations of said industry, equivalent to having a seat on the board of directors, which is a mentality I don't actually blame said fan base for exhibiting. I blame the overly toxic nature of video game media over the last 20 years for embedding this into the general public. You see, video game media and content creation has become an arms race in what I like to call crash TV, where the actual journalism aspect is replaced with raw plays to the emotions of the viewers. I kind of look at it akin to professional wrestling. Look up a wrestling show from the 70s or 80s and watch that event. The crowd was brought to its feet when someone was body slammed or drop kicked. Decades of race to the bottom competition in that industry later. The audience of a modern wrestling show barely stays awake if one guy jumps off the balcony, does 17 full rotations, lands on his opponent on a stack of tables, glass panes, barbed wire, and actual grandma set on fire. So the video game crash. You see, there's a huge difference between the actual video game crash of 1983 and the so-called video game crash of 2024. In 1983, the overall audience for video games was a small fraction of what it is today, and a multitude of startup companies absolutely flooded the marketplace with zero-quality games that were completely incompatible with one another, and that left the audience feeling that video games were just a fad like any other toy that had been out there. Remember, video games have been only around for a few years prior to 1983. In 2024, things are wildly different because everyone except those in their 60s and older today, literally grew up with video games and spent their entire lives with them. And ultimately, everyone has some genre or type of video game that tickles their fancy, is a way of putting it. So there will actually be no universe in which there is an actual video game crash of the entire industry again. See, what we're going to see here and experience is the death of a business model within the industry. That is to say, the several $100 million budget video game category. Killed not by folks who don't want to play video games anymore, but with the evolution of the labor market in general and the rise of AI competing with said labor. The form factor and development process is going to change. That's not a video game crash, folks. That's just an evolution of the business model. And for folks to be outraged at this is frankly a little silly. You don't have to like it, but no individual can and will dictate how the game industry evolves, and even collective actions such as boycotts, or as the prevailing means of protest today, the justification of software piracy when the sense is a game developer doesn't operate exactly how you'd want them to. Now here's a crazy idea. There's nothing more authentic to the gaming and retro gaming experience than actually adopting the mindset of the folks who played these games back in the 80s. Let's get back to obsessing over how to gobble the most dots or to jump over all the barrels instead of obsessing over the month-over-month market value of a 5-screw Metroid, or the latest drama behind some random executive at some random video game company. I have a funny feeling it will all do us a lot of good and feel a lot better. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Please go ahead and like and subscribe if you like the cut of my jib, and I'll see you next time on It's All Dug in Games.